You're listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
I wanna see the light.
Well, happy Thursday, everyone. I hope everybody's having a good day. It is obviously coming winter in our part of the world. It's chilly today.
It's freezing today.
I am being closely monitored and supervised.
Yes, he is. Welcome, everyone.
I want to thank everybody for letting us spend some time with them. If you haven't been to GiveGod90.com or authorjerrymitchell.com lately, you might want to do that. See what all kinds of good things is going on there. If you like what you hear, those share buttons work really good. Because if you like it, chances are your friends and family will like it, and your enemies really need to hear it too. So there we go. Interesting things going on this week. I will probably get into it next week, but apparently the Supreme Court heard some oral arguments this week, and it's just weird. It's just weird. The world we live in today is strange, to say the least. But it is that time of year when thoughts turn to other things, don't they? And that's what we're going to look at tonight. And I don't know how many times over the years I have heard, maybe you've even said this, that the winter holidays, from Thanksgiving through New Year's, are overly commercialized. Because let's face it, everybody's out there to make $1 this time of year. They're selling everything and a lot of things you don't really need. But the question has changed a little bit when I read some comments the other day. And the comments were, are all of the winter holidays nothing more than man-made traditions? Well, in the last episode, I used Thanksgiving as an example, and we know that it is a man-made tradition, right? We decided, hey, let's do this. And it has become a tradition. So, the Thanksgiving holiday is. And we're going to look at some others and see what we can come up with. And I'm going to say right now, I'm going to pick on just about everybody. Okay? Nobody is going to be safe tonight. It's just that simple. And I'm going to start with the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. Always happens in late fall, early winter. So we're going to look at that. And if we look at the story of Hanukkah in the Maccabees and in Josephus, we learned that it was actually declared a feast after the defeat of the Greek army and the subsequent cleansing of the temple. And if you're not familiar with that, Myra's going to read a couple of passages from those.
Now Maccabeus and his followers, the Lord leading them on, recovered the temple and the city, and they tore down the altars which had been built in the public square by the foreigners, and also destroyed the sacred precinct. They purified the sanctuary and made another altar of sacrifice. Then, striking fire out of flint, they offered sacrifices. After a lapse of 2 years, they burned incense and lighted lamps and set out the bread of the presence. And when they had done this, they fell prostrate and besought the Lord that they might never again fall into such misfortunes, but that if they should ever sin, they might be disciplined by him with forbearance and not be handed over to the blasphemous and the barbarous nations. It happened that on the same day on which the sanctuary had been profaned by the foreigners, the purification of the sanctuary took place, that is, on the 25th day of the same month, which is Kislev. And they celebrated it for 8 days with rejoicing in the manner of the Feast of Booths, remembering how not long before, during the Feast of the Booths, they had been wandering in the mountains and caves like wild animals. Therefore, bearing ivy-wreathed bands and beautiful branches and also fronds of palm, they offered hymns of thanksgiving to him who had given success to the purifying of his own holy place. They decreed by public ordinance and vote that the whole nation of the Jews would observe these days every year. 2 Maccabees 10:1-8. Now Judas, celebrating the festival of the restoration of the sacrifices of the temple for 8 days, and omitted no sort of pleasure thereon. But he feasted on them upon very rich and splendid sacrifices, and he honored God and delighted them by hymns and psalms. Nay, they were so very glad that the revival of their customs, when after a long time of intermission, they unexpectedly had regained the freedom of their worship, that they made it a law for their prosperity, that they should keep a festival on account of the restoration of their temple worship for 8 days. And from that time to this, we celebrate this festival and call it Lights. I suppose the reason was because the liberty beyond our hopes appeared to us, and that thence was the name given to that festival. Judas also rebuilt the walls round about the city and reared towers of great height against the incursion of enemies, and set guards therein. He also fortified the city Bethsura, that it might serve as a citadel against any distresses that might come from our enemies. Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, Book 12, Chapter 7, Section 7.
You got through all those names pretty good tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we see in these passages is that they simply declare it to be a holiday. It's completely man-made. And by the way, as you've heard me say, I don't know how many times now, nothing in these passages links the 8 days to a miracle of oil that comes about 400 or 500 years later when it was first mentioned. But according to the Maccabees, it was 8 days because of Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles, or the Feast of Booths. It's a 7-day holiday that lasts for 8 days. If you want to know more on that, look in the archives and you'll find it. So, yes, Hanukkah is completely a man-made holiday that celebrates the defeat of the Greek army and the cleansing of the temple. Nothing wrong with it. It's just simply a man-made holiday. What about the Christian Christmas? Oh, now there's going to be some folks out there who are going, oh, what's he going to say? What's he going to say? Hope he gets there. Hope he gets there. I'm not going there. All right. This is going to be a little different look at it. It's a man-made holiday. It's that simple. The very early church father Clement records that several different dates were used to celebrate the birth of Yeshua, Jesus. The Egyptian Christians would celebrate on March 25th because it was a custom that the birth took place in the 28th year of Augustus, and on the 25th day of the Egyptian month, I believe it's pronounced Pechan. Currently, on our current calendars, that is about May 20th. Okay? Other dates relate to March or April, sometimes September and October, but there's no mention of December in any of Clement's writings. Now, it's pretty obvious the date was not known to the Gentiles for a couple of reasons. Birthdays were not celebrated in many Mideastern cultures, not the way we do today, especially in the United States. You have a one-year-old child, and the parents go absolutely nuts planning this first birthday. And it's really not for the child, because the child has no idea what's going on at 1 year old. It's for the parents. It's for the grandparents. It's for all the friends and neighbors. It's another reason to get together and party, right? But you do it with kids this time. Also, the Gentiles didn't realize or recognize the correlation between the feasts that are outlined in Leviticus 23 and how our Creator uses His appointed times to accomplish the things He wants to accomplish. It wasn't until the 4th century A.D. That December 25th shows up as a day to celebrate the birth of Yeshua, and this is according to the Biblical Archaeology website. It was from a almanac in Rome that lists the death dates of various Christian bishops and martyrs, and the first date listed is December 25th, and it reads in there, Natus Christus in Bethlehem, Judea. Basically, it translates, Christ was born in Bethlehem in Judea. That is the first time it shows up, and it's from a Roman source. Now, I've written extensively how when we follow all the forensic clues in the Bible, the writings of the people who were alive at the time, and we can safely say that he would have been born the first day of Sukkot, or the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Booths, and that's always in the fall, not in December. So, yes, even the beloved Christmas is a completely man-made holiday. Even Pat Robertson recognizes this. He has a very short, or there is, I shouldn't say he has, he passed away. There is a short clip on YouTube if you want to look it up. Just search for Pat Robertson Pagan Christmas. You'll find it. So even Christmas is simply a man-made holiday. It might celebrate something worth celebrating to the Christians, but the reality is it's made up, and all of the traditions and trappings that go with it are as well, right? The wise men. Every nativity scene you see is going to have the wise men in it. But the problem is the wise men were 500 miles away, and there is no way, I don't care what they're feeding those camels, they're not getting there before daylight, okay? Just saying. The next holiday I want to look at is Kwanzaa. Now, according to the University of Pennsylvania African Studies Center, and I'm going to quote from their what they put out. Each December, the outreach program receives numerous inquiries about the festival of Kwanzaa. This celebration is not a festival originating in any of the 55 African countries, nor is it an African Christmas celebration. Kwanzaa is an African American's celebration of life from December 26 to January 1. And I believe the way you pronounce this is Molana Karenga, introduced the festival in 1966 to the United States as a ritual to welcome the first harvest to the home. Dr. Karenga created his festival for Afro Americans as a response to the commercialism of Christmas. In fact, one might say Kwanzaa has similarities with Thanksgiving in the United States or the Yam Festival in Ghana and Nigeria. The word Kwanzaa is a Kiswahili, used in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania word, meaning first. It didn't become recognized as a holiday until about 30 years later. That's when it officially became a holiday. And it has become commercialized as well. Hallmark in the 1990s began selling Kwanzaa cards. It's one of the first commercializations of that festival. And think about this. It was created because another holiday became over-commercialized. How about that? That just amazes me. It just amazes me. Not saying whether it's good or bad, not saying that people should or shouldn't celebrate it. It's probably something worth observing. However, it's completely man-made. Completely man-made. On to New Year's. Oh, you're going to get a kick out of this. I know I did. Okay. New Year's actually has a more complex origin. We have to remember that not every nation for a very long time followed the same calendar. In fact, it's reasonably recent history. New Year's was celebrated on many different dates, depending on where you lived, what culture you were in, what calendar you followed. It was actually celebrated in the spring by some cultures on March 25th, celebrated in the fall by other cultures, depending. And this was kind of strange. It depended on not the new moon and not the solstice, but it depended on the full moon. I thought that was kind of weird, but that's just me. The changes from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar were confusing, and not every nation adopted that calendar right away. The United Kingdom and all of its colonies was the last to adopt the Gregorian calendar, and that was in 1752, just a few years before the United States became an independent nation. So not even New Year's Day is as sacred as a lot of people want to consider it. It's really become just another reason to throw a party, completely man-made. Now, the reason that so many celebrate the holidays, the man-made holidays, really doesn't have anything to do with their religious history, but it has to do with their cultural history. Somebody at some point made the decision that let's just do it on this day. This is a good day to do it. I think everybody needs a break at this time of year, and we'll just have a party this day, right? Now, there are some holidays through the rest of the year that are important. You have Cinco de Mayo, which is the Mexican celebration. You have Independence Day in the United States, July 4th, which is when we celebrate our independence. Other nations do the same thing. There's Bastille Day. Good reasons to celebrate in that country or in that nation, but they're pretty much man-made, all of them. It's really easy when we look at the winter holidays, though. We know And we have historical record of when these things began. But if we look at the Bible, what do we see? Our Creator created time for us. He placed a calendar in the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars. And that's where we get our understanding of time. If you want to remind everyone with that passage.
Then God said, "Let there be lights in the sky to separate day from night. These lights will be used for signs, seasons, days, and years. They will be in the sky to give light to the earth." And it happened. Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell the people of Israel, you will announce the Lord's appointed feasts as holy meetings. These are my special feasts." Genesis chapter 23, verse 1.
Our Creator appointed times for us to meet with Him and learn the things that He would show us. He tells us in Genesis chapter 1 we have a calendar. And then in Leviticus 23, He gives us dates that correlate to a time of His choosing. Not man-made, God-made. This is going to sound terrible, but the reason we enjoy celebrating the man-made holidays and we reject the appointed times of our Creator is blatantly obvious. We are choosing to reject the Creator Himself. It's that simple. These are not Jewish feasts. He never relinquished ownership of His appointed times. They are for everyone who says, "Yep, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is my God. So why do you want to reject Him?" The dates that are outlined in Leviticus 23 are so important that He created a calendar in the sky that everyone would have access to. All you have to do is look up. You're going to be able to see it, and you would know what was happening. It's not penciled in. It's not even written in ink. These dates are locked in place in His creation and held together by His breath. Remember, our Creator does not change. His appointed times do not change. I'm not saying we shouldn't find other times to get together and celebrate certain things. What I'm saying is that our man-made celebrations are far less important than the celebrations that our Creator set aside for us and for Him to meet together. He chooses to be worshiped the way He chooses to be worshiped, not the way we want to worship Him. It's His way, not our way. You remember Isaiah 29:13? These people say they love me. They show me honor with their words, but their hearts are far from me. The honor they show me is nothing but human rules they have memorized. Oh dear. It's not what you say, it's what you do. The honor they try to show me is nothing more than their traditions. They don't love me. They love their man-made traditions that are solely based on somebody's idea, somebody's concept that, oh, this is a good day. This is just a good day. We need to be very, very careful why we celebrate the things that we choose to celebrate. And understand and realize that what you celebrate is important. Now, Is it important to take a child's first birthday and say, you know what, a year ago we remember where we were? Probably. But a 1-year-old child doesn't remember where it was a year ago. I'm not even sure I remember where I was a year ago right now. Probably sitting right here doing the same thing. But the reality is, our man-made holidays won't last. They're going to change. They're going to evolve. They're going to adapt to new customs, new traditions. They're going to include legends. The Almighty's feasts, and he says in Leviticus 23, these are mine and no one else's. They're not going to change. They're going to be consistent, just like our Creator is consistent. They're going to stay the same, just like our Creator stays the same. We have to be able to recognize what's the most important. Celebrating our man-made holidays, or celebrating the days that he spoke literally into creation. When he set everything in motion. He gives us the calendar, his calendar, and says, here is when I want to meet with you. So yeah, all of the winter holidays that we celebrate, they're all man-made. It's all made up. Can you get together and have a good time? Yeah, you can. But remember, they're far less important than the dates that he chooses. So, until Monday, we do wish you many, many blessings, everyone.
Yes, absolutely. And please keep warm if it's cold where you live.
Absolutely.